Hey everybody, it's Josie. Welcome back to Cedar Creek Homestead. Well, today we've got a big project here in the house. It's overcast and cold outside. We had some warm weather, but then we had thunderstorms yesterday, and so it's cooled things off and it's muddy outside. So I'm doing projects inside today, and one of the big things that I have to get done is get a bunch of my jars filled with food for long-term food storage, and get them marked, get them sealed, and get them on the shelf. And then I have some things that are shorter term food storage for the kids and other family members that I'd like to get out of the box. I don't like to have a bunch of boxes and packages and stuff in my pantry. It's just a personal choice. I like to put them in jars, and I need to get those sealed up so that they stay nice and fresh as well. And so I'm going to be working on that today, and I thought I would show you once more the Foodsaver canister that I use that turns these jars into storage jars that you're able to pull a vacuum seal on, and so that you don't have to use your valuable canning jars for that. Not that I do have some of my canning jars that I've used for dry storage that way, but I want to keep my canning jars for the harvest that I'm praying for this summer from my garden and other sources that we might all take advantage of, farmers markets, or if others, have extra product and they don't want it, don't have any use for it, but you do. I think that we're going to need our canning jars and our lids, so if you can use these and for some of your dry storage and pull a vacuum on them. So I've had some requests, and once again I'm going to show the canisters to you, how I use those to pull a vacuum seal on these. It might give you an idea for another way to put food up in your pantry to look well to the ways of your household. Now, I have done a video on this before, but with everything that's going on right now and the concerns that people have and all of the new people that we have watching our channels to see what things that they can do to look well to their ways of the household, I thought that it would be prudent to go over this again. Now, what we're talking about today is this Foodsaver, this right here. This will pull a vacuum on your canning jars and these kind of jars, and it'll also seal food in bags that pulls a vacuum. You'll be able to put them in the freezer, or you can use them for on your shelf as well for rice and dried products. But then you can also put meats in them or other things that you want to put in the freezer and pull a vacuum on them as well. Now, I have a Foodsaver. There are other brands. Let me move these jars out of the way so that you can see. I apologize for that, guys. This is a Foodsaver. This is just one in the series. There are different kinds. I've had mine for quite a few years, so they don't look just like this when you order one now. They have different models, but this is not. I have used this and I've not had any trouble with it. There are other brands out there that have just as good of reviews, and people have a lot of success and really like them. Now, I guess I need to move some more jars out of there. This Foodsaver, mine happens to have the hose right here in the corner, and so when I'm going to use it for jars, I just pull the accessory hose out like this, and it attaches to the top of my the jar sealers, or the top of the canisters, which I will show you all of those things in just a second. We'll go over how to do that. You can use regular jars, you can use wide mouth jars, you can use the little fancy shaped mason jars, as long as it has these type lids. But you can also use your jars from products that you use and you would throw away. Now, this is a spaghetti sauce jar. This is another brand of spaghetti sauce jar. Lemon juice, and all kinds of jelly jars, sauce jars. The only requirement for me and for this thing to work is that they're glass. They need to be glass. Okay. I want to talk about this jar for a second. Now this jar is a canning jar, which means that you can hot water bath in it, steam bath in it, you can pressure can in it, you can put your dry goods in it like I have here. This lid is only for dry storage, and I use these lids if I have leftovers and I want to use a jar to put the leftovers in to put on the shelf in the refrigerator, or in my pantry for dry storage short term. This is not a storage lid, in my opinion, for long-term food storage, but this is something that you get into regularly, and you just put the lid back on it and put it back in your storage. So just know that these really aren't the kind of lids that you want for long-term food storage. You want something that's going to pull a vacuum. This doesn't pull a vacuum, and so this product isn't going to stay fresh long-term. But, and that's chocolate, by the way, but this is also chocolates, and it has a regular canning lid on it, and I can pull, in fact, I'm going to pull a vacuum on this today to show you how to use this. Bear with me as I get my little tools out here. Okay, so Foodsaver has a regular jar sealer and a wide mouth jar sealer right here and right here. And since we have a regular jar, that's what I'm going to use today. Now I take the ring off. When you get your product in there, you want to make sure that your jar lid, your rim is clean. And you're going to put your jar lid on there. You're going to put this on the top of that. And you're going to get your hose accessory out. Don't lose the grip of it like I just did. Now you'll notice that here on the top is a little hole right here. And that is where your hose is going to go right in there. Push it down on there. Now I'm going to turn my machine on, and I am going to push the accessory button. It'll make a noise, and it cuts off. So then you should be able to take this off the top and wiggle this off, and it's vacuum sealed. And you can test it by doing your jar like this. So this is ready for me to put this on the shelf and tuck it away for another day. Now, you don't have to put the rings on these when you store them. You don't put the rings on them when you process something in a pressure canner or hot water or steam bath. You take this off, because if something goes wrong with the seal, you want to know that so that you can get it off of the shelf and take care of it. Having the lid on it or having the ring on it will cause it to hold down sometimes, and you have a false seal, and it's not really good. Now, I store these for longer term storage. They're not in my house. I have them in another place. And so I like to put the rings on them, just so if it pops the top off of it and this doesn't get knocked over and all the product fall out, it just makes me feel more secure. You don't have to do that. You do not have to use the ring at all, but I do on my dry canning. Now you might ask, what are some other things that you can store? Now right now, this is cereal, and I keep this My kids like cereal, and I keep this on the shelf for them. But I do find that it's much easier to store it in these jars than it is to have those. I buy the big bag because you get more products for your dollars. So I buy the big zip bag, but still your bag gets ripped and then you've got a mess. And I, living here on the farm, you cannot help but have little critters that like to come in sometimes, and so I like to keep things in the jars. And so just the same way with the other, we're going to make sure your ring is clean. We filled this jar. I put the lid on it, put this down on there. And I'll do the same thing. Same thing. I'll pull that. Pull this off. It's sealed. And I check this and I make sure, and then I put the ring on. Now, one thing that I want to tell you is you can look at this and you can tell this is cereal. I can tell it's cereal. You can tell it's cereal. Most people that's ever had this knows it's cereal, and they know what kind of cereal it is. But write down on the lid what it is, because I promise you, you will put something in a jar and you will think that you will remember what it is. And from my own experience, I can tell you, you won't always remember what it is. And you don't really want to have to taste something to figure out what it is you've pulled off the shelf is what you're actually looking for. I had to do that one time with Pickle Crisp, because I had some milk that looked a whole lot like it, powdered milk. And I didn't know if I was looking at powdered milk or Pickle Crisp, and it could have been a disaster either way. So always make sure that you write on the top what's in the jar. Try to date it so that you kind of have an idea of how long you've had it. And then you're good to go on that. Now that's using the mason jars for storage. However, there are lots of jars that you can use for dry storage. Pull in a vacuum on them, but you won't be able to use these lids. They don't fit. A long time ago, I bought this product. When I bought my Foodsaver, I bought the canisters, I bought the jar attachments, and I got several things so that I could make the most of my Foodsaver. Now, I have looked for this on Amazon, and there are products on Amazon from other companies that are food storage containers that have a little button on the top for vacuum sealing. But I cannot speak to whether or not they work with this Foodsaver, because I haven't used them. I don't have any experience with them, and I don't want to tell you something will work and then it not work for you, because that's a waste of money, and we all need to be watching our money closely. So I do know, I looked on eBay, and there's a ton of these on eBay, a whole bunch of them for varying prices. You could go on there and you could pick one of these up for yourself. Now some of you may be saying, well, I don't think I would use it. I don't think that it's beneficial, but let me show you what these can do. Now that's 3 different sizes. It comes in the smaller one and the medium size. Baby bear, mama bear, papa bear. This really isn't the papa bear, because there's one that's bigger than this one, and I haven't been able to locate it yet. I haven't gotten one that'll do the bigger jars. So I'm on the lookout for the one that's bigger than this one. This actually comes as a 3-piece set. And so what we do is we use these containers to pull a vacuum on our little jars. Now this is a little jar of chocolate drops, and I'm pretty sure that this jar is going to be too big for this canister. So that lets me know I need the next size up. So I'm going to put it inside the canister. Now, this is using this for something other than what it was originally created for. It was originally created to put crackers or chips or popcorn or whatever dry ingredient in there, flour, sugar. Well, not sugar. You wouldn't want to vacuum seal sugar. It will get hard as a rock. But anyway, cookies, and put them in there and pull a vacuum. Now, this actually may have to go in the next bigger size. Let's see. Let's see. All right. So this has the hole where the tube is going to go in. This has the hole where the tube is going to go in. And then after we do the vacuum pull on it, it's all done and the machine has kicked off. This is a release so that it lets that tube go. That I need the next size up jar. Same process. Okay. And let's see what we've got. It's sealed. This is one of those button tops, and it is definitely sealed. And so now we have these chocolates that'll be longer term storage because we've pulled a vacuum. Now, on your goods too, you want to put them in a location where it's not getting hot and it's not getting incredibly cold. You want to try to have a consistent temperature. Now I have a storage area that is temperature controlled that Howie and I set up, and these will be able to go in there and stay good for quite a little while. Also, it's dark in there, so the sun's, it doesn't have sunlight shining in, and so you want to make sure that your products stay in a cool, not hot, not cold, dark area. We do have lighting when we're in there, of course, but when we're not there, there's no sense in having the lights on. In my freezer, one of my freezers in the door, I have some of these jarred, or some of these mixes that I've just put into Ziploc bags. I do that anyways. I put the products in the freezer to begin with to kill any kind of bug eggs. And then I take them out and decide how I want to store them. Now I have an old freezer. That's a reliable freezer. But I only put dry stuff in it, meaning I don't have any kind of meats in there. It's just dry. And so I put these things in the door, and it's one of those good old freezers that had lots and lots of door space. And so I put all kinds of different products in there in these bags. And I, let's see, this one's probably a better one to show you. This one is a cheesy rice, same as this, but just a different way to store it. And so this is a cheesy rice, and what I did was I put the rice product, of course, in the bag, and then the 2 envelopes, this is 2 boxes of rice-a-roni that I've put in here, And then I put on the powder, one of the powders, I wrote the instructions on it. So I wrote down what other things needed to be added to this to make sure that I was able, or they were able, to follow the instructions on making this. I put that they had to add butter, they had to add water, how to start it, bringing it to a boil, reducing it, its amount of time to cook, and then I just simply slide it into the Ziploc bag with the rice, and I seal it up. Now, you can put yours on the shelf if you want to, but like I said, I put mine in the freezer. One thing is because it's in a bag and I don't want any critter problems. Two, I like the idea of having 2 or 3 different ways of having something stored. So this is in the freezer, this one is in a jar, and then I have some in short term. If it's just going to be used in the next little bit, I usually don't take it out of the box. I just leave it on my shelf and I cycle through it, and then I go and get this out of the freezer or this off the shelf and replace what I used. You can do the same thing. This one happens to be a pasta dish, and I've done the same thing. I put the noodles in there, and then it has a sauce mix in that brown bag. And on this one, I wrote the instructions on the outside of the bag, telling them what they needed to add to it, how long they had to cook it, and all of that. And I wrote it in a Sharpie, and so that it'll be easy for them to see. Also, you know, if the kids didn't use this, but there was somebody in need, I could go and get this, and I could fill a grocery bag with little Ziploc bags of different kinds of foods, and you don't have to worry about your jars. They don't have to worry about your jars. They can use this, and they can not worry about getting these little Ziploc bags back to you. I like doing that. Now here's another jar. This is 2 boxes of this rice dinner, and I've got the rice in, I've got the one of the envelopes in. This is the second envelope with the little cut in the side, and I'm going to get this pushed down in there, make sure that everything is tucked in good, and I'm going to get the correct lid on it. This is an old spaghetti sauce jar. I'm going to set this in there, and this is about the biggest size that you can get in there. These jars, this one is just a little bit taller, and this one is too big. So I need to go up to the next size on the canister, which means I'm going to have to get on eBay and go shopping and see if I can't find the big Daddy canister. I don't really know what it's called, but it's bigger than this one. So I'm going to put that inside, get the lid down, get the hose on, hit the accessory button. And this one is sealed. So this will be able to be put on the shelf. 2 cans, two boxes of a rice dinner with the sauce, ready to be taken off, and the kids make a really easy meal for themselves, or be given to someone else. Like I said, this is a jar that would have been thrown away. Now it's got a second use, and if we pass it on to somebody else, we're not going to be upset if we don't get the jar back. Well, there it is, guys. Another way to put food up with your Foodsaver and your canning jars, or jars that was going to be thrown away. And we discussed the little bags that you can put in your freezer that won't take up a lot of room. Now, if a freezer goes out, that I have these in, this isn't an emergency as much as a freezer would be that has meats in it and things, juices and things like that. All my dry ingredients are in there. Yes, I wouldn't like it that the freezer went out, but if something happened and several freezers went out at the same time, if we had some kind of natural disaster or whatever, having my dry ingredients in one is going to allow me to pay attention to the other one, that the stuff is more perishable. So anyway, guys, I hope it helps. I hope you're looking well to the ways of your household. We all know that food prices are going up, and with all the things that are going on in this country and around the world, I just wanted to bring some ideas to you to help you along the path a little bit of being more prepared, being more self-sustaining, having things on hand so that you don't have to be out in all the craziness. You don't have to be scared or fearful. We're going to be okay. Just keep working. Keep looking well to the ways of your household. I hope this little demonstration has been helpful for you in some way. Give you an idea of another way that you can put up some food and look well to the ways of your household. Until next time, guys, this is Josie. I love you. I really do. We're gone.